Redouan Faïd approached crime by studying Hollywood blockbusters. He broke them down scene by scene, using them as literal instruction manuals to stage his heists. Growing up in the stark, concrete social housing blocks of the Parisian suburbs, he started stealing for one simple reason: to buy movie tickets. He would sit in the theater, entirely absorbed in American gangster films and French crime thrillers, memorizing the dialogue word for word. By the time he was 18, he was putting those scripts to use. During his first bank robbery, he held an employee at gunpoint and delivered a line lifted straight from a French thriller, telling her to shut up, do exactly what he said, and think of her children. Soon, he started lifting specific visual tactics from the screen. He and his crew began hitting banks wearing rubber masks of famous politicians to intimidate their targets and throw off witnesses. This was a technique copied directly from the movie Point Break, and he even delivered lines from the film on his way out the door. A couple of years later, he pulled from Reservoir Dogs. Faïd outfitted his entire crew in sharp black suits and assigned everyone color-coded aliases, Mr. White, Mr. Blonde, Mr. Pink, to project an image of absolute professional authority. These cinematic choices turned a chaotic robbery into a sequence that appeared professional and practiced. By forcing the highly stylized aesthetic onto the crime scene, Faïd projected a level of control that discouraged resistance, leaving bystanders unsure of how to react. After years of robbing banks, Faïd set his sights on a significantly more difficult target: 6-ton armored cash trucks. To tackle this new challenge, he studied Michael Mann's Heat. He replicated the movie's opening sequence to the letter. His crew targets a truck moving through an industrial area, and Faïd deliberately slams a lead car head-on into the armored vehicle to bring it to an immediate halt. Trailing cars pull up to block the front and back, completely boxing the truck in. 5 men wearing hockey masks jump out and swarm the vehicle. To avoid a shootout, they slap explosive-looking packages directly onto the reinforced windshield. The terrified guards give up. But here is where the script falls apart. Emptying millions in physical cash out of a heavy transport takes way too long. The police arrive in just 3 minutes, a chaotic firefight erupts, and Faïd takes a bullet to the shoulder. Copying an action movie works until the real world intrudes. Physics, the sheer weight of money, unpredictable time constraints, and heavily armed police responses defy a tightly choreographed storyboard. Faïd managed to escape, but he left behind a trail of blood, handing investigators his DNA. Instead of laying low, Faïd leaned into his myth. He did a stint in prison, secured early release, and reinvented himself as a best-selling author. He began appearing on French talk shows as a reformed, charming ex-convict, happily sharing highly polished anecdotes about his cinematic crime days. He even attended a film event and rubbed shoulders with Michael Mann himself, telling the director he was an inspiration. Meanwhile, completely off-camera, Faïd was secretly masterminding new robberies. In May 2010, another attempt to hit an armored cash truck went horribly wrong. A routine traffic stop interrupted the heavily armed gang, forcing them into a panicked, high-speed chase down a busy highway in a white van. Desperate to escape, the gang crashed the van and needed a new getaway car. Right as 2 patrol officers pulled up to the intersection, the gang opened fire. They shot 26-year-old police officer Aurélie Fouquet multiple times, killing her. Her murder sent shockwaves across the country. Thousands of police officers mourned her, and the French president personally attended her funeral, vowing to do absolutely whatever it took to track down the killers. Faïd claimed he had a solid alibi, but investigators dug through CCTV footage and spotted him inside the white getaway getting used by the criminals. They proved he was the mastermind behind the entire operation, captured him after a year on the run, and sent him straight back to a high-security prison. The narrative of the charming rogue faced its first real-world reckoning. Investigators pinned the logistics of the fatal 2010 robbery on Faïd, and the French justice system responded by placing him back in a high-security cell with a significantly longer sentence. Locked in solitary confinement in a modern detention center south of Paris, surrounded by massive walls, barbed wire, and armed snipers, Faïd began planning his grandest scene yet. His accomplices on the outside approached a 65-year-old flight instructor under the guise of taking a lesson. Once isolated, they pulled guns on him, told him they knew his home address, and threatened to murder his family if he didn't navigate the breakout exactly as instructed. They specifically requested to fly in his Alouette 2, a vintage 1950s helicopter. They didn't choose it for speed. They chose it because its small, exposed frame was uniquely capable of slipping into the tight, restrictive architecture of the prison. The pilot navigated through a specific, unsecured gap in the courtyard's anti-helicopter netting. As the aircraft descended, the guards on the watchtowers aimed their assault rifles, but they were paralyzed. Strict prison protocols completely prohibited them from firing at a flying aircraft. Once hovering, they deployed smoke grenades, engulfing the courtyard in a whiteout. One jumped out with an angle grinder, screeching through the reinforced metal of the visiting room doors in exactly 40 seconds. Fayed stepped out of the visiting room into the roaring chaos. He brought his hand to his temple, delivered a crisp Air Force salute to the watching inmates, and climbed into the helicopter as the entire prison erupted into applause. Visually, it was a flawless execution of a Hollywood blockbuster climax, but it was only a momentary illusion, a fleeting stunt that immediately triggered a massive international manhunt. The glory of that high-flying escape quickly gave way to a pathetic reality. 3 months later, authorities tracked him down hiding out in his own hometown, shuffling around the streets disguised under a burqa to avoid detection. For his multiple escapes and his role in the fatal heist, the court sentenced him to a total of 39 years. Today, he sits in extreme, permanent solitary confinement. His daily reality inside is bleak. He is strip-searched up to 5 times a day at random intervals. When he makes a phone call, his hands remain in shackles, and at least 4 guards escort him every step of the way. By trying to script his life like a fictional action hero, Fayed engineered a very real tragedy. He is buried alive in a concrete box, entirely erased from the outside world, until his earliest possible release date in